Okay, we'll get started. So hello, everyone. Welcome to the SADS Foundation Living with SADS webinar entitled New Year, New You, Build a Healthier 2025. On behalf of the SADS staff team, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm Marcia Baker, the Program Director for the SADS Foundation. We have 3 presenters tonight who are volunteering their time, and I'm honored to introduce them to you. First, we'll hear from Julie Wild, a certified holistic health coach and founder of her company, Transform with Wellness. Julie provides one-on-one and group coaching and workplace wellness services and programs. She attended the Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York City for her health coaching certification, adding to a globally focused education with a master's in international management and a bachelor's in economics. Following Julie's 30 to 35-minute presentation, we'll hear brief perspectives from 2 community members, Christy Johnson and Jeff Baer. Christy is an arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy patient and the new chair of the Board of Trustees at the SADS Foundation. She's also the chair of our ARVC steering committee and passionate about helping others with SADS conditions. Christy loves studying and optimizing health, but has had to adapt her lifestyle dramatically due to her condition. She lives in Scottsdale, Arizona, and has 2 children, one also positive for ACM. Jeff Baer is married and recently celebrated 36 years with his wife, and he is the father of 2 adult children. Jeff was diagnosed with arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy, or ARVC, in April of 2021. His genetic testing results are gene negative or gene elusive. Jeff retired after his last shock storm in 2023, after working 25 years in the telecommunications industry. Following the 3 presentations, you'll have a chance to ask any presenter a question by typing it into the chat. As always, please keep your audio microphones muted during the presentations. The webinar is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be emailed to all of you in a few days. Now, it's my pleasure to turn the microphone over to Julie Wild to get us started. Julie?
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for being here. Want to make sure you're seeing my screen. Yep. Okay, good. But thank you for being here live or watching the recording. And thank you, Marcia, for the nice introduction, and to the great SADS team for inviting me here today. It's an honor to spend time with you. The topic for today is New Year, New You, Build a Healthier 2025. And you'll hear the word build throughout as we focus on how you can begin to build a healthier new you. And I wanted to add a little bit to my bio because I wanted to explain why I became a health coach. Given that, as you heard, I used to be focused on international business, and I've lived and worked in Asia and Europe, and I've worked for big companies and also startups, and then had 4 children along the way. But my interest in health has always been a through line with my background since my early adult years. And it's just been kind of a hobby in the background. But about 11 years ago, I was on a water polo trip with my son and some other people. And we were driving up to Northern California. And this woman had a book in her bag. And I was driving, and I could see the book. And I asked her about it. And of all things, it had to do with what you see in this photo here, a green drink. And I was so intrigued because I had sort of heard about these crazy things called green drinks. And so I devoured the book during that tournament, and it really changed everything for me because I started learning about what we're going to be discussing today. I applied what I was learning, and I had these unexpected outcomes that turned into incredible realizations and then ultimately health transformations. I mean, I was a child in elementary school who had the itises, and that continued on through my adult life. So that is sinusitis or bronchitis, rhinitis, and then iritis. These are all inflammatory conditions, but I had those ongoing. I always thought that was just part of life. And I realized once I started switching certain aspects of my health, especially with regard to eating, that these symptoms started to go away. And again, I had these amazing transformations, and I was so amazed and excited that I decided to turn my career focus into helping others experience their own transformations for a better life with better health. And I help people go from where they are now to where they want to go with their health for lasting change and to experience their own transformations through what we're talking about today. This webinar, just have to mention, is meant for educational purposes only. It is not meant as a substitute for medical advice. Please seek out a qualified medical provider if you feel you need further support. Our agenda today includes the elements of wellness, and we're going to talk about importance of building a strong wellness foundation. And then we'll go into getting clarity about your health mindset and get into tips for better health with time, hopefully for some Q&A. And I hope after this session, you'll leave with a sense of empowerment, hope, and excitement about what's possible for your health and well-being. And I'm excited to share this information because I know it works. It has for myself and countless others whom I've supported on their health transformation journey. Plus, you'll leave with some actionable tips you can put to use for yourself or help your children or other loved ones with what we discuss. Everything we're talking about is relevant for people of all ages, and the great news is that it's never too late or too early to make some positive changes for your health. Lastly, I'll add that you may know some of this information, but I always say that we often know what to do, but don't always do what we know. Sometimes we simply need a reminder or encouragement. And with that, let's get started. We're talking here about building a healthier 2025, and it really starts with building a stronger foundation of wellness. So, what is a foundation of wellness, and why does this matter? Well, I'm going to share two ways to explain how important a strong foundation of wellness is for your life. And the first is a building comparison or analogy. So think about when you're building a house, you need to have the grounds stabilized, you have a strong foundation, hopefully use quality building materials, and the environment around the house even needs to be secure. So when you do that, and the storms come, the bad weather, and the years go by, your house, your structure has a good chance to stay intact. And there might be some damage here and there, but it can be rebuilt or fixed up. Overall, the structure stays intact. It's like that with our health. And if you think about our body as a temple or a house in which our spirit resides, and when the storms of life happen, and by the way, they do for everybody, you'll have a better chance to remain strong and be resilient and to move forward despite what's going on. And there are many elements of wellness, such as community or social connections, spiritual grounding, and emotional health, each of which is extremely important to our well-being. But for this talk, I'm going to focus on mindset, food, stress management, exercise, and sleep, the pillars of health. Health and feelings of well-being result from the small choices you make daily in these areas of diet and lifestyle. These choices are key for better health and quality of life. It's what you eat and drink, it's how you manage your stress, how you move and how much, your sleep quality, and how you support your emotional health. Oftentimes, I think of myself as a dot connector to help people realize the direct impact these factors have on our health and well-being and thus quality of life. They're not just nice to have in place. Now, another way to address the importance of a strong foundation of wellness is that it sets us up for a more elevated life. And I love this word elevated because it feels hopeful, uplifting, empowering, and positive, doesn't it? And when I first moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, which, by the way, is where the SADS Foundation is located, I saw the sign when you leave the airport, and it said, "Welcome to Utah, Life Elevated." And it really struck me because I just feel it's a very powerful statement. And the idea here is to ascend as humans to our higher selves for a better life. And I've shown this image to other groups, and it seemed to really resonate with them. But it starts with this foundation of wellness. And by the way, This is an ongoing journey. It's not always linear, so it's just always progressing. We might take some steps backwards, but if you work at it, you can live a healthier life and be stronger and resilient. So the way this works is we have a foundation of wellness, and that provides us with energy, strength, and better health to take action for enjoying life, for growth, and being productive. Plus, not only surviving, but thriving despite challenges. And that helps us ascend and elevate to achieve a higher level of awareness of who we are in this world and improve quality of life, which leads to transforming tough experiences into gifts and being able to help others, and then to become a warrior who is fierce and fearless, no matter what is going on. And then at the top, you see it allows us to break the chains and to break the chains of everything holding us back from savoring our life more, from a better life, such as limiting beliefs about what's possible, anxieties, and fears. So what do you think? Hopefully I've made my case for the importance of a solid wellness foundation. Are you currently in the belief or doubt direction? And it's helpful to reflect on this idea. Why? Because clarity is power. Having clarity about your mindset around health can illuminate your path, opening the door for positive changes and a healthier 2025. Getting real and honest about where you are with your health is powerful, and you'll never truly know unless you're asking yourself some important questions, which I'm going to prompt you to do next. The beginning of the year has a unique feeling of optimism, which I too love. But here's the truth. About 80% of people abandon their New Year's resolutions by the second week of January. Why? Because they set intentions, but they don't make commitments and they don't have an effective system for creating new habits. When you decide to make a commitment, you're ready to do whatever it takes. What helps to keep you going when the inevitable roadblocks come along, even those in your head? The answer is asking yourself the right questions and getting clear on what and why you're doing this. And on a humorous note, I read an article this morning in the Wall Street Journal about just this phenomenon, and it's entitled Gym Regulars Can't Wait for You to Quit Your Resolution. I thought that was pretty hilarious because I've been sort of wondering about this myself at the gym, but this is a normal phenomenon, in other words. But we want to try to build a healthier new year with these good habits to avoid that. Now I want to give you an opportunity to set yourself up for success with the new year, new you, by asking some questions. Where do you stand on diet and lifestyle changes for better health? I created this slide with some personas based on my own experience and that of people I've worked with. Can you identify what position you're in now? What position are you on your way to next? If it's not a position you want to be in, what needs to happen to keep you progressing further? If it's a position you do want to be in, what needs to happen to keep you there? So let me explain and go through these different personas. The first one is, I'm all in, tell me more, so excited about making changes. Second one is, I'm confused and stuck. There's so much information out there. Sometimes it's conflicting, which it is, and I'm overwhelmed and stuck. Or are you the person who says, I know I should change, but it's just not my focus now? Or are you that I know this already? I'm good. I don't need to know anymore. Well, I can relate to this woman here because when I started my health coaching program, yes, I had done a lot of work on research about food and nutrition, but I thought when I started my program that I would only put a little focus on that area and focus everything on my attention on all the other aspects in the program. Well, from day one, I realized how wrong I was. And I say this because sometimes we're more advanced in different areas of our health and our wellness. And it's just important to know that there are always areas where we can improve, just always. We can always make positive changes. So are you in position 5? Won't work for me, arms crossed. I have this disease. That's just the way it is. This diet and lifestyle stuff doesn't work. Or you're no thanks, I'm not interested. That person typically has some fears, and those are understandable as well. So now I'm going to give you a chance to answer this with our next slide, and Erin's got a nice poll she's created for us. So where are you today? And this is just anonymous for fun, but let's just see how the group shows up. So if you wouldn't mind picking one of these options and tell us where you are in this list, and then we can just see how the group looks. So all you have to do is click on that, and then we'll be able to show everybody the results. Okay, we're about ready.
Yep, I think I'll go ahead and end the poll now.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, excellent. Love it. Okay, well, I really appreciate that. Looks like most of you are all in, tell me more, or, want to change, or you know this already, but I love these answers, and I appreciate your doing that. That's fun. Thank you, Erin, for doing that. But I hope what you learned about yourself will be helpful in creating new opportunities for health improvement. There are no right or wrong answers, of course. Rather, we're after clarity. So no matter where you were on the spectrum, I encourage you to reflect on the following questions to further help you think about how you're going to proceed with a vision of a healthier 2025. So if you had to make some changes, what changes could you make to improve your health and quality of life? Is it upgrade your eating and lifestyle habits, reimagine what's possible and adjust your mindset, swap some shoulds on your list to musts and take action? Join a supportive community for accountability and support, seek out guidance to make shifts for your health, or consider what's keeping you stuck. Well, the first step may be hard, but this is normal. Fear is normal and understandable. So, how can you reduce fears and even live with them to not let them keep you stuck? And it's about taking action, because action builds confidence and gets results to move you forward. This could look like getting support, joining a supportive community, taking those steps to improve your diet and lifestyle habits. As James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says, all big things come from small beginnings. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. So, what is one small action you could take today that could move you forward toward your goals? To do just that, we'll now talk about some tips and action you can use right away to help kick off the new year with some health supporting habits. With all of these tips, we're focusing on building. Just like when a structure is built, you're adding to it. So for 2025, we're talking about building new healthy habits and doing more of the good things, which in turn has a big benefit of crowding out ones that are less helpful or even harmful. Mindset matters, and I believe that this is a cornerstone of the Wellness Foundation. For without a set of beliefs and attitude and perspective that you can and must take control of your health and well-being, you're leaving a lot behind. Life is full of uncertainty for all of us, regardless of our health status. And it's true that none of us can control everything in our lives, clearly. But there still is so much more you can control than most people realize. So my mindset tip is to build a new outlook. And in the next slides, I'll discuss ways you can take more control of your health and well-being. Building a new outlook starts with a mindset reframe. Reframe your beliefs you're carrying around, turn them on their head, and build a new outlook that inspires action and hope. So instead of feeling down that you can't do certain activities or eat certain foods, what if you updated your mindset to thinking of the many delicious options of foods that can help heal, nourish, and strengthen your heart, your body, and your brain? Or what about thinking of activities you can do that will contribute to improving your heart functioning and overall health and bring you enjoyment? And what actions could you take to bring soothing, calming feelings for your soul? So for a reframe, you could start with think about taking charge of your health and well-being, take action, take those small steps, think of the possibilities. What else could you be doing? And then focus on what you can do versus what you can't. Building a new outlook for your health is the cornerstone of building a healthier 2025. Now on to our food and diet tip. Food is medicine for our body and brain. Since we are built entirely of food, It matters what we eat and drink. What you need to know is that food is information that drives our daily and long-term functioning. Back to the building and construction analogy. When you use top quality building materials, you have a solid structure with less corrosion possibilities. Likewise, when you feed your body with the best quality building materials, in other words, food, you take control of improving or even harming your health. Eating with purpose isn't just about what we eat, but how we fuel our bodies to thrive. So my tip is to eat more veggies. Of the many points I could make about food, a great first starting point for improving health is to eat more vegetables. They are packed with life-supporting minerals, vitamins, phytochemicals, and fiber. Phytochemicals are compounds that found in plants that help protect them, and they provide these nutrients to all of us. Among the benefits of eating vegetables are it boosts our immunity, reduces inflammation, they have anti-cancer and anti-aging effects, they help with digestion, support weight control, boost energy and mood, and help build a foundation of health. The idea is to get creative and add them to each meal. Every meal is made more nutritious by adding in more vegetables. And we want to focus on eating more and lots of variety and colors. Eat the rainbow. In other words, eating French fries doesn't count. And I'm asking you to eat more, not less. Isn't that exciting? So eat more vegetables, and by doing so, you'll feel fuller, leaving less room for harmful foods and crowding them out. So here are some ideas you can think of. How about stir fries? Those are great. You can saute vegetables, roast, puree, steam, or mash them. You can add them to soups. You can use them and make them into dips and sauces. You can use them as noodle and grain replacements or add them to smoothies. I love doing all of those. So those are easy things to do. Now, another way to add more vegetables to your meals, here is an easy recipe blueprint, and I call it the Super Bowl. It's a great way to have a really healthy, quick meal and with lots of vegetables. So first you have a base, and that could be your greens or maybe some healthy whole grains such as quinoa. Then you put your protein on, and that could be from animal sources or plant sources. Then you add more veggies chopped up, and then some healthy fats, maybe a little avocado or nuts and seeds, and a healthy dressing made with healthy fats. And then you mix it all up, and voila, you have the Super Bowl. So that's just an easy thing to do, easy, quick meal. Now we're moving on to stress management. Stress is yet another aspect of health that is underestimated with its impact. We all have stress to deal with, but when it's chronic and unmanaged, that's when the serious problems set in. Chronic stress is considered to be the #2 contributor to chronic inflammation, which is a source of nearly all chronic disease. It causes everything from sleep disruption, weight gain, inflammation, lowered energy and mood, raised blood sugar, and it's also associated with obesity, lower HDL, increased visceral fat, heart rate, insulin levels, and triglycerides. Given these harms to our mental and physical health, it's crucial to find ways to manage your stress. I teach people about putting together their own toolkit of ways to combat stress, and one of the ways that has been well documented as an effective strategy is practicing gratitude. Gratitude has been called the antidote to fear. If you're feeling upset or fearful, focusing on what or who you're grateful for is a powerful way to overcome these negative thoughts. It's like a critical vitamin for your soul, and a small daily dose provides you with immunity to your problems and helps keep your mental health stronger. And who doesn't want that? Now, there are many ways to practice gratitude, of course, and for today, I'm going to teach you what I call a gratitude moment. And this provides a way to feel calmer in the moment, less stress, and less fearful. Consider it a micro self-help moment in your day. It's good for your mental and physical health. And I'm going to explain it first, and then we're going to do it together. All right, so what you do is you get yourself comfortable. You can be seated, standing, lying down, whatever's best for you. You can put your hand on your heart like this girl has in the image, and your diaphragm to feel your breath, or just put your hands anywhere that's comfortable. You're going to take a breath in through a cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then I'd like you to visualize a person, place, or thing or experience for whom or for which you're grateful. And you give it as much description in your mind's eye as you can. Colors, temperature, texture, sensation, feelings, anything you can do to think about and keep that image really, really clear in your mind. Okay, so let's give it a try. So everybody, close your eyes, and you're going to take one breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And now I want you to visualize in your mind's eyes a person or place or thing or experience for whom or for which you could feel really grateful, and get really clear in your mind's eye what that person or situation looks like. Just keep breathing in the feeling, make that really clear in your mind, and keep breathing that in and get very clear, and then have one more breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And when you're ready, open your eyes. How did that feel? Good? Well, this can be taught to children and adults and can be used as much as you like. And nobody has to know you're doing it either, but it's a great little exercise. Another exercise in gratitude I recently learned from Dr. Arthur Brooks, social scientist at Harvard and author. He recently co-wrote a book with Oprah, Build the Life You Want. And I actually had this amazing opportunity to meet him in August at a very small event. And we spoke after his talk, and I was talking about wellness. And he said, "Oh, I'm all about wellness because that's how you become happier." And so I thought that was kind of interesting to keep in my mind of what he said, since he's an expert in, helping us improve our lives to feel happier. So this is an exercise I recently learned about that he talks about, and they've done studies on it. That's why you see some statistics in this information. But what you do is every Sunday for 10 weeks, you write down 5 things or reasons for which you feel grateful. You review the list daily, and you update the list every Sunday. And you just keep adding to that for 10 weeks. And then you have the chance after 10 weeks to feel 10 to 20% happier, and you'll have a new stress reducing, health promoting habit. Pretty great, I would say. On to my exercise tip. Move more daily. Very simple, but very profound. Muscle contraction is miraculous medicine, according to Dr. Casey Means. Most people know how important exercise is for better health, but fewer realize how profound the effects truly are. Exercise and movement have countless benefits, including improving insulin sensitivity, reducing stress, better brain health, reducing risk for chronic diseases, enhanced detoxification, slowed aging process, improved mobility, better mood and feelings of well-being, lower inflammation, boosting energy, and supports weight control. In contrast, lack of movement leads to a host of problems, from restricted mobility, higher disease risk, lower cognitive ability, and sleep disruption, among other problems. So my tip is to figure out how to move more daily. The data about exercise are clear that the more you move, the better off you'll be. And of course, with any new exercise or change, please be sure to check with your medical team. Ask yourself, what else could you be doing, or what more could you do? And this isn't about extreme exercise, by the way, but rather more movement. Meet yourself where you are and build from there. It doesn't matter where you start, just get moving. So here's some ideas to consider. And the great thing is they're easy to do. They can be done whatever level you like, and most of them are either free or low cost, and they're fun as well. So if you don't already walk, I recommend just trying to get a little bit of walking in and just build from there. If you do walk, walk more, walk faster, walk in a different environment, like this neat photo you see here. Take a walk after a meal, if you can. Walk around during calls, have a walking meeting, meet a friend for a walk, join a gym, take classes, hire a trainer, or go through cardiac rehab. I've heard many, many great stories about that program. Take a class at a local hospital or online. Do chair yoga, climb stairs, or dance around. Buy some equipment for home use, such as hand weights or bands. Perform air squats or ab workouts, or just stretch, gentle stretching. But always check with your medical team, no matter what you do. Now we're on to sleep. Sleep is the foundation for our mental and physical health. It's a time of rest and repair for our body and brain, and is our body's renewal system. Good sleep is essential for mental performance, better mood, a stronger immune system, a healthy stress response, cellular repair, and a healthy metabolism. And we know how it feels if we have good quality sleep, and likewise poor sleep. But this is an often overlooked aspect of health. If this is a chronic problem for you, it's important to look into solutions for improving your sleep. The key is to prioritize your sleep. So my tip is actually to think about stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bedtime, before sleep. As with all aspects of what we're discussing today, there's a lot to say about sleep and how to improve it. But I think this is a great place to start. And that looks like no eating about 2 to 3 hours minimum before you go to bed, and have only water or maybe herbal tea before bed if you want something to drink. And that includes no snacking if possible. But this is because your body needs its time to digest food so that it can prepare for the important time of restoration during the night. So we've reached our summary. We started with how building a healthier 2025 starts with building a stronger wellness foundation. Then we went on to gaining clarity. Where are you and what's next for your health? Think of where you are on your that emotional spectrum from 1 to 6. Then we talked about how action changes everything. It helps us get unstuck and out of fear. And lastly, we reviewed some actionable tips by category. For mindset, we talked about building a new outlook. With food, we talked about eating more veggies. With stress management, we talked about practicing gratitude. And with exercising, we talked about moving more. And with sleep, we talked about taking an eating break 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. And now I'll leave you with some food for thought, that if you change nothing, nothing will change. Instead, how about thinking about what's possible for me in this new year? Thank you very much for your time this evening. I greatly appreciate being here and your being here with me. As we've reached the end, I hope you feel energized and excited about the possibilities for building a healthier 2025 for you and your family. It's so important and so possible, and the best investment you can make. If you'd like to stay in touch or have further questions, feel free to email me at my email listed on this slide. Until then, I wish you a healthy, happy, and fulfilling new year. And now I'm going to turn it over to my friend Christy, who's a great example of everything we're talking about now, and to Jeff as well. And I will let Christy take over. So thank you. And Christy, you're on mute.
You know, in my head, I was sure I wasn't going to do that. So I apologize. So now I'm off of mute, and I can say again, thank you to Julie, because every time I hear her speak, I get more and more excited about new things. In fact, when Julie and I were going through this presentation a little bit ahead of time, and you know, I was looking at her tip on sleep to stop eating a few hours before you go to bed. And I thought, you know, I've let that one slip a little bit. I'm going to stop doing that. And guess what? I lost some weight. I lost a pound in a few days because I stopped eating that late night snack, and my sleep is better. So I got a twofer on that one, Julie. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing that. And I'm inspired by Julie's talks, and I've heard a lot of them because I've actually been in 3 sessions that Julie had of a program that she does called Healthy Together. And I continued with a group for 3 sessions. So we got more and more in depth on different topics as we continued. And not only was it wonderful to get a lot more insightful into those tips and learn about them and really be able to practice them, but it also was a great support She did that with other cardiomyopathy patients, and I'm still in contact with all of those, that last session of cardiomyopathy patients, even now as friends, and we support each other, even though the session unfortunately is now done. So I did really love that. I'm going to start with my diagnosis journey, and we're going to go a little bit darker for a few minutes, unfortunately, Julie, because my diagnosis was really, really hard, and the journey that I've had since then. And even though I love health and nutrition, I'm passionate about it. I actually study nutrition. I'd love to be certified in it. I got to a point, and I'm going to explain my story, where I was frozen. So I was diagnosed with arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy in 2020 after going into a fast VT out of what seemed like the clear blue sky. So standing at my desk or my counter during COVID, all of a sudden felt like I was going to pass out. Husband caught me, rushed to the hospital. They cardioverted me 3 different times over the series of about an hour and a half or 2 hours. They ended up stabilizing me with IV drugs, which was good. They implanted an SICD, and I stayed in the ICU for about a week after that. So that was my intro into ARVC, or arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. We didn't know I had it until several months later after genetic testing, which confirmed that actually. My MRI, a little bit inconclusive, and then later we found out that they found some spots there too, but really it was that first episode. So I felt like I was one of the healthiest people I knew, and then my mindset after leaving the hospital there was my body almost killed me, right? So it was a really big mindset shift to the negative. Over the next year and a half or so, I battled with additional arrhythmias. I've had 3 other VT events that required shock therapy and significantly impacted my mental and physical health. So I want to tell you a little bit about them because it does relate back to where we're going. So the first event that I had was in a children's party zombie apocalypse VR theater, right? All right, so I look, there's a little sign that says, if you have a heart condition, maybe you shouldn't go in. So I asked the 17-year-old girl who was working at the front desk, do you think it's safe if I go into this VT zombie apocalypse game? She's like, you look fine, sure. I did look fine, right? Most of us look fine. So needless to say, that sign outside that event and roller coasters and probably other things is for me, since I did go into the zombie apocalypse theater, and when the big zombie threw a huge rock at me, I actually thought that first, ouch, that hurt. Secondly, this game is broken, and I actually felt that. And third, I realized I had been shocked by my ICD. So that was my all of a sudden mindset that went from, okay, my body is doing something, to, oh, there's triggers like adrenaline that I now have to be worried about. So I added adrenaline to my fear. The second time I was shocked twice in a very quiet restaurant, just sitting eating dinner with my husband after a very stressful day at work, and while being on Cipro, a drug that many of us maybe should not be on, the doctors don't know, but that adds to 2 additional fears, right? So now I'm afraid of adrenaline, I'm afraid of my own body, I'm afraid of some antibiotics, and I'm afraid of stress at work. The third episode was the big doozy. I was in California with my family, and I had a slower VT episode that didn't shock me, but I called the doctor on call. I've since moved from this practice, but this doctor says, as long as you're feeling okay, go to bed, you're probably fine, you can resume your normal activities. The next day, I went into a severe shock storm and was shocked 10 different times, in and out of VT over almost 2 hours. Luckily, IV medication in the hospital got me out of that. A couple of weeks later, I had an epicardial ablation with some complications. And so now I'm going to add some additional fears. Socializing's a fear, being late to something's a fear, anything that happened there. And by the end of 2022, when I was done with, luckily, knock on wood, my last episode I've had so far, I was frozen in fear. I was scared of moving. I was scared of socializing. I was scared. So I think for me, I needed a lot of support. And I did get therapy. I switched medical teams. I got a lot of wonderful support from both Johns Hopkins, who I know might be on this call, as well as SADS, and a new medical team at Mayo. So I completely switched my medical team to Mayo Clinic locally and had Johns Hopkins as a consulting team, had SADS, had other organizations that were being supportive. But in addition to that, I could control my lifestyle. And so I started focusing on some of the things I was learning in Julie's class, and really taking back control of my life. So I wanted to just review some of those main lifestyle things that Julie went over and to what really made an impact on me. And there are a lot of them, and I do work still really hard at that. But I think the most important thing, Julie, for me that you talk about and that you've said is that warrior mindset, especially coming from that place of pretty much flat out fear to do almost anything. It's trying to get to the fact that I have at least a little bit of control in some of the things I can do, and I have to live and I have to take a risk. And going into, I'm not a victim, I am now a warrior, and I am going to do the best I can with this disease. So that's the first thing. The second thing is really helping others and supporting others as much as we can. So I've gotten very involved in both SADS and the DCM Foundation, and I try to do some stuff with Johns Hopkins as well, but I try to do as much as I can to support other people. I also run my own Facebook support group for my specific gene. And all of that is really helping me more than I feel like I'm helping other people, because it gets your mind off of the fear and the trauma to try to help somebody else through theirs. The third thing is setting boundaries around my most important lifestyle things. So for me, for example, I do a stretching and strengthening online program called Eccentrics. And I love that. It doesn't get your heart rate up too fast. It works on mind-body connection. I feel a lot stronger. I feel a lot taller when I do it. And I have scheduled that in my calendar, and everybody knows that this is my special time. It's 30 minutes. And even when I don't feel like it, which is often sometimes, I have to admit, I push the play button and I go and I stand in front of that screen. And once I start moving, I feel better. And then it builds. And by the end of it, I'm thinking, I can't believe I didn't want to do that because I feel so much better now. So really those sorts of things build on themselves, but you have to set boundaries around them because those can be the first things that get taken off your calendar unless you treat them like a meeting. I've been following doctors and suggestions on not drinking alcohol and minimizing caffeine for me. It's not for everybody, but for me, those were important, strong suggestions that changed my identity a little bit. But it was relatively easy to change my identity and still be able to go to happy hour with my friends and just order a LaCroix. Is it as fun? No, it's not, I'll be honest. But it was an identity change I was willing to make for peace of mind. And boy, if you hear all this stuff on alcohol right now, it's just coming crazy out, right? So I'm feeling confident about those decisions that I made and changing my identity along with them. I walk every single day. I am slow. I have to walk, or I do walk under 3 miles an hour. I don't feel very good a lot of the time. I'm still very dizzy with some symptoms. But I focus on positive things like listening to a podcast or making my calls, and really enjoy that time of walking and moving my body, conditioning my body, and doing something positive in the meantime. One other thing I just wanted to say, I have about 25 more, but I'll have to look at the time. So I read and have reread a book called The Four Agreements. If you haven't looked at it, if you haven't read it, it just is a positive, uplifting book about taking your happiness and your control back into yourself. And for me, that's just a reminder that I can't be reminded enough about that. And then also increasing some of my spiritual practices has helped me. So with that, I need to stop. I'd love to answer any questions anyone has about any of those, but in the meantime, I want to turn it over to Jeff, and Jeff is going to share his journey and some of his health tips. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Chrissy. Boy, I get to follow two pretty much professional speakers here, and I definitely am not. But anyway, I'll as you've been told, my name is Jeff Bear, and I have ARVC, arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy, an acronym and disease that seems like so much of my identity these days. But more importantly, I'm a father of two amazing adult kids, a husband of almost 37 years, and a friend to childhood friends, college friends, my kids' friends even, and my local friends, and now my ARVC friends is what I call them. And there's quite a few of them, fortunately. What I am not is I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist or expert about health and wellness like Julie. I can only talk about my experience and what I am personally doing. Oh, and one more disclaimer too. When I agreed to be part of this discussion, I completely forgot about how many football games there were going to be this weekend and this past weekend and then last night as well. So my apologies if I have to read and look at my notes more than I'd like to. So today I'm here to talk with you about my health and wellness journey. But instead of talking about things I'm not doing well, like Julie talked about, eating my veggies, exercising every day, drinking less caffeine, you know, the physical part of health and wellness. I want to talk with you today about something I am doing and that I have done for almost the last 3.5 years. Something that's much easier and comfortable to talk about, right? And that's my mental health journey. Okay. Of course, mental health is not easy to talk about. And it's not easy to come right out and talk to a bunch of people about it either. And it's not really what I wanted to talk about, but it was the only thing that came to my mind as I thought about what I was going to say today. So I'm going to dive right in. To start, I want to read you some parts of a very private letter that my therapist asked me to write a little over a year ago. And yes, you heard me right. I said my therapist. Therapist, by the way, for some of you that don't know, is a really good double IPA made by Dust Bowl Brewing Company in California. Sorry, I digress. My therapist, a phrase seldom used in the male vocabulary and something rarely talked about anywhere really, except in craft beer communities in Northern California. So yes, I have and am seeing a therapist, and now everyone knows about it. She specializes in anxiety, trauma, and PTSD, something I knew nothing about just 3-4 years ago. While years ago I probably would have been, today I'm not ashamed that I see a therapist, and I'll talk to or tell anyone anytime that asks me about it, because for me, it's been a huge part of my healing and my journey this past 3.5 years. So here are a few words from my letter to ARVC that my therapist had me write. Dear ARVC, first of all, I'd like to thank you for waiting until I was almost 56. I know I don't look it, but to show up in my life. Since you're a genetic disease, I know that you've been trying to break through and break into my healthy, strong body and make me change even more the mostly healthy, active lifestyle I've lived. Not showing up in my life until age 56 has allowed me to live a normal childhood, play high school and college sports, play recreational sports like tennis, basketball, baseball, and more recently, pickleball. I used to body surf, snorkel, scuba dive, hike, California, Belize, Hawaii. But most importantly for me, not showing up until I was 56 meant I was able to play with, coach, and run with my kids without restrictions or limits. I got to be that fit and active dad. So the first thing my therapist helped me with was to find things to be thankful for in the midst of this disease. Yes, the shocks will possibly come again. Yes, I do not play sports, run, hike, bike, body surf, or scuba dive like I used to. And yes, I had to retire early from a fun and successful career in the telecommunications industry. But in the midst of these things, I had 56 years of being active, healthy, and athletic. Okay, maybe only 55 years, I don't think I was very athletic until I was able to walk probably. So maybe age 1, so give me 55 years. I helped raise and was very active with my kids, as I mentioned. And I also planted and still try to maintain almost 30 blueberry plants, which feed me, my family, and friends for several months each year. And I also have this amazing device and technology inside of me that will save my life if I experience life-threatening arrhythmias again. I have much to be thankful for. The second thing my therapist helped me with was my anxiety and my fear. I may have experienced 16 shocks since 2017, but if I total up the total number of days I haven't been shocked versus the number of days that I have experienced shocks, it's only 6 days out of now 7.5 years. That's 6 days I've experienced shocks out of over 2,700 days. If my math is right, this means I've only experienced shocks on 0.22% of the days over the past 7.5 years. As each and every day passes, the likelihood of me getting shocked, I choose to believe, gets smaller and smaller. Right now, today, there's only a 0.22% chance it will happen, and it's getting smaller each day. For me, this realization helped me a lot, but was just one thing with regards to my anxiety and fears that helped me. Again, I have a lot to be thankful for. The third thing my therapist helped me with was she helped me take back control of my life by eliminating words like can't, shouldn't, have to, and replace with more positive words like I choose to. I choose not to play baseball. I choose not to play basketball, tennis, pickleball, whatever the sport is, versus I can't play sports anymore. I choose not to run anymore versus I can't run anymore. I choose not to bike anymore versus I can't ride my bike anymore, and so on. I choose not to share any more of my letter to ARVC because it's too personal and private. Sorry. I can do these things if I wanted to, but I'd be risking shocks and or damage my heart even more than I already have. This kind of thinking is still a challenge for me to remember, especially when I talk with friends, family, and even strangers asking about my disease. Once again, I'm thankful for the things I can do. I finished with one last thing I was challenged with by my therapist. And there's that word again, therapist. What good things have come from this disease? I got to retire early. No, that doesn't really count because really I'd rather be working still. And I thought some more and I said, the only good thing that has come from this disease is the friendships and relationships I have made because of it. Thank you for listening and allowing me to share with you my mental health journey.
Great job, Jeff.
Thank you all for your presentations, Julie, Christy, and Jeff. I was very engaged in all your stories. I've put a note in the chat to everyone to type your question in and to let us know which presenter your question is addressed to. And there's several accolades that have been coming in through the chat for everybody to look at. And there's a question from Jennifer. Let me find it. Oh, great information, Julie. Jennifer's interested in what the green drink book was.
Ah, fun question. It's the Green Smoothie. I have to get the title. It's Green Smoothie book, and it's by Robin Openshaw, who is a Utahn, as they say here. So she's a Utah native. And that was the book that kind of launched it.
Okay, thank you. Jeff, you have a comment here that someone loves your idea of the letter to ARVC. Genevieve asked a question. What piece of advice do you have for someone starting on this journey? Anyone? You have to unmute yourself.
Right, the unmute thing. Sure, I'll start. I think definitely two pieces of advice, one in the medical side and one in the support side. One is to make sure that you have a medical team that is very familiar with your condition, and if not, make sure to seek a second opinion. So for me, I started off with a local electrophysiologist who's wonderful and caring, but he had very little experience with my condition. And by reaching out to Johns Hopkins, which was my second opinion and consulting, I learned everything, right? And so I got the gist and what I was dealing with from an expert. So make sure you're talking to and getting information from experts, both from a medical side and the support side. And I would say SADS obviously is a wonderful place to start with that kind of information. SADS can connect people with resources. They can connect people with other people with the same disease. It's a great way to integrate. You can do it at your pace. I don't want to know about this. I do want to know about that. But just having those two pillars of support set up right from the start definitely would have made a huge difference to me. I scrambled for the first 6 or 9 months trying to find those resources. And I'm so happy to have found SADS and Johns Hopkins and Mayo and the ones that I do have now.
Okay, thank you, Christy. There's a question for you directly. What is the exercise program that you do from Jeff?
Sure. I love it so much. It's one that I found on a PBS special. And I've been with it for a few years now. It's called Eccentrics. So gosh, I'm going to spell it wrong for you as I'm thinking about it. ESSENTRICS. And it's run by an ex, I think she was a professional ballerina, and her daughter and their staff, and they have all different kinds of people and ages. Right now they're doing an age group challenge. So I'm doing a 50s age group challenge for 21 days. They're short, between 20 and, well, some of them are a little longer, but usually between 20 and 30 minutes a day of stretching and strengthening through eccentric movements, which is lengthening. So they're really focusing on lengthening. And it's something that we can do. And I am so grateful for that in terms of still being able to keep your heart rate at a relatively low rate.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions or comments? Lots of accolades and thank you to Christy, Jeff, and Julie for your presentations. And lots of tips for gratitude and blessings. Okay. Well, I want to thank all of the presenters, Julie, Christy, Jeff. Julie, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to share before we close?
I'll say that that it's so possible, as I said, it's so possible and so important to think about all aspects of your health. And I really appreciate both with what Jeff and Christy talked about, because of those are great ideas, but also talking about the mental health aspect is so critical. But I just know that there's always something, as I said, that can be done. And I encourage everybody to think about taking action and really thinking about why this is important for you. And also then think about what small actions could you take right away in any of these areas to really improve your health and to lead to this healthier 2025 that we're talking about today. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out.
Okay. And thank you again, Julie, Christy, and Jeff for sharing your journey and all the great information and tips. And as I mentioned before, everyone will receive the recording link and a follow-up email, and with more information in our follow-up email to all. So thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye,
Great to
everyone.
see
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.